Let me level with you. If a woman feels nothing when you speak, she's already forgotten you. And if the only thing she feels is comfort, you're not even in the game, you're done. Comfort is what women want from boys. But what they crave, what gets into their head and stays there, is disruption. A man who walks into a room and makes her question who really holds the power. If you don't learn to do that, you'll spend your entire life circling around women you secretly fear. Here's what Machiavelli knew that weak men still haven't figured out: power is perception. The man who controls how he's perceived controls everything. Not with good looks, not with smooth lines, but with certainty, with danger, with distance. It is much safer to be feared than loved, he wrote. Why? Because love is emotional, soft, fleeting. But fear? Fear is stable. Fear is earned. And once it's earned, it lingers. Confidence isn't about smiling. It's about making her hesitate for a split second, making her wonder. It's holding eye contact just a beat too long. It's not blinking, not adjusting your shirt, not shifting around like a kid trying to impress his mom. It's letting your silence speak, letting your stillness dominate, letting your gaze interrogate. The dangerously confident man doesn't show up to get the girl. He shows up to see if she qualifies. He doesn't chase, he assesses. He doesn't charm, he unsettles. Because here's the truth: women don't obsess over what they understand. They obsess over what they can't predict. That's why Machiavelli said, "The vulgar crowd is always taken by appearances, and the world consists mainly of the vulgar." In other words, it doesn't matter how good you are inside. If you don't look like someone who commands presence, you're invisible. You might have loyalty, kindness, even love to give, but if you look like you need her approval, you've already lost. Confidence isn't a move, it's a design. It's engineered like a weapon. You build your voice to land like a verdict. You hold your posture like a panther waiting to pounce. You speak like a man who is used to being heard and never needs to repeat himself. That's dangerous confidence. It's not being fearless. It's being unshakable in front of the thing most men silently worship: female validation. You must enter every room like a ruler returning from exile, not loud, not arrogant, but with a presence so calm and self-assured that it forces others to adjust themselves. You don't win women with smiles. You win them with pressure. Your silence becomes tension. Your indifference becomes dominance. Your aura becomes judgment. And suddenly, she wants to be found worthy. This isn't arrogance. It's calculation. Machiavelli said, "He who seeks to deceive will always find someone who will allow himself to be deceived." In modern terms, the man who performs for women becomes her entertainment. But the man who commands himself makes her question her own power. That's where it starts. You stop acting like a man waiting to be chosen. You move like a man who's already chosen himself. You weren't born soft. You were trained to be agreeable, trained to smile too much, trained to look for permission in a woman's eyes before you speak. Machiavelli would have laughed at you, because he knew, centuries ago, that obedience without power is suicide. A prince who is not himself wise cannot be well advised, he said. Meaning, if you need direction from others, especially from women, then you are not fit to lead anything. A woman cannot be led by a man she can emotionally destabilize. Let me say that again. If her tears, her sarcasm, her silence, or her attention can shake you, then you are not a man to her. You're a servant wearing cologne. The dangerously confident man is not immune to emotion. He just guards his mind like a fortress. Every word he speaks is filtered. Every response is measured. He never chases validation, because he knows the real secret. The man who remains emotionally neutral controls the dynamic. When she flirts, he doesn't melt. When she tests, he doesn't flinch. When she pulls away, he pulls back even further, not out of pettiness, but to remind her, her presence was never a requirement. That's power. Machiavelli warned about dependency. The wise man does at once what the fool does eventually. So you don't wait until heartbreak to become strong. You don't wait until she walks away. You cut your weakness now. You build a life where women are a choice, not a need. You make your mission so focused it cuts through distractions. Your time becomes sacred. And no one, not even the most beautiful woman, gets access without earning it. You rise early. You move with intent. You speak like your words matter. And when you walk into a room, your energy speaks first, not your mouth. Because here's the brutal truth: you can be tall, rich, and good-looking, but if your energy screams insecurity, she'll step over you like a puddle. Dangerous confidence doesn't shout. It's composed. It doesn't fill silences. It commands them. It doesn't beg to be understood. It speaks once and waits. The moment you stop explaining yourself is the moment people start wondering what you're really capable of. Machiavelli once said, "It is not titles that honor men, but men that honor titles." That means forget the status. Forget the symbols. You are the authority. You are the value. And once she feels that, her entire strategy shifts. She doesn't test you to take power. She tests you to feel your limits. And if you have none, if you fold, she disappears. That's the paradox. She doesn't actually want to be in control. She wants to feel the edges of hers. And only a man with a solid core can provide that. Burn this into your identity. Every time you resist the urge to prove yourself, you gain a layer of mystery. Every time you withhold a reaction, you grow in psychological gravity. And every time you look at her, not like a goddess to worship, but like a woman to be measured, you move from prey to predator. Most men lose the moment they open their mouth. They talk too fast. They talk too much. They try to sound respectful, smart, sweet. But Machiavelli had a different metric. He said the first method for estimating the intelligence of a ruler is to look at the men around him. Now think, what do women see around you? Chaos? Boys seeking pleasure? Men who can't focus? Or do they feel order in your orbit? Discipline? Intention? That's what a confident man radiates. Confidence isn't judged by your talk. It's judged by what you attract, what you allow. You want to be taken seriously? Then observe more. Speak less. Let your eyes do the work. Let your silence be your fortress. And when you do speak, speak like your voice is the final word in the room. No. Maybe. No nervous laughter. No. I think. Just statements. Grounded. Calm. Clear. If she laughs at something you said, you don't join in. Because her amusement isn't your reward. Machiavelli wrote, "Men in general judge more from appearances than from reality." All men have eyes, but few have the gift of penetration. You must be the exception. Don't just look at her, read her. Not for attraction. For motive. What is she testing? What is she hiding beneath the flirtation? What fear is driving her pride? Because confidence without insight is still weakness. A truly dangerous man is confident because he sees. He sees through the performance, through the makeup, through the games. He doesn't expose what he finds, he stores it. This is psychological warfare. Not to hurt her, but to lead her. A woman will only follow a man she cannot manipulate. And if she can predict your emotions, your patterns, your triggers, she owns you. So here's your training: no visible emotion, no reaction to her tests, no flinching, no rush to explain. You want to dominate the space? Then your value must speak first, not your words. You sit tall like your seat is a throne. You don't adapt to her energy, she adapts to yours. Why? Because in your world, your attention is the prize. Not your time. Not your compliments. Your attention. And it's not given. It's earned. Machiavelli said the lion cannot protect himself from traps, and the fox cannot defend himself from wolves. One must therefore be a fox to recognize traps, and a lion to frighten wolves. You must be both. A fox in awareness. A lion in presence. Calm eyes. Sharp mind. Brutal decisiveness. That's the kind of man women obsess over. Not because he's perfect, but because he can't be tamed. Because he already chose who he was long before she showed up. That's the truth most men never hear. A woman doesn't crave a man who adores her. She craves a man she can't manipulate. Machiavelli said promises were made out of necessity in the past. But now, breaking them is necessary for survival. That's how life works. Loyalty without strategy is slavery. And most men? They're loyal to the wrong things. Her attention. Her mood. Her approval. A dangerously confident man is loyal to one thing only, his direction. So when she pulls back, he doesn't chase. When she tests him, he doesn't explain. When she tries to disrupt his focus, he doesn't flinch. Not because he's cruel, but because he has standards. And no one, no matter how gorgeous, bends them. That's what makes him unforgettable. This is your commandment now. You don't negotiate with your mission. Not for validation. Not for affection. Not even for sex. Your purpose becomes so sharp, so clear, it starts cutting off distractions on its own. Not because you hate her, but because you finally love yourself enough to protect your path. Confidence is born the moment you stop outsourcing your worth. Until then, every room you walk into, you'll be looking for eyes to tell you that you matter, but not anymore. From this moment forward, your confidence is forged in the fire of refusal. Refusal to be reactive. Refusal to chase. Refusal to explain. Refusal to shrink so someone else can feel tall. Machiavelli said, "Everyone sees what you appear to be. Few experience what you truly are." So, what does that mean? You don't let the world just see you. You design what they see. With cold, deliberate precision. This isn't deception. It's dominance. Your eyes say, "I already know who I am." Your tone says, "I don't need permission." Your presence says, "I am the decision." Because here's the secret. Women don't fall for your words. They fall for your direction. A man with no emotional direction? That's a storm. That's chaos. She might play with it, but she will never trust it. But a man who has command over himself? That's rare. That's unforgettable. That's intoxicating. So if you want dangerous confidence, let go of needing to be liked. Let go of waiting for signs. Let go of trying to come off as nice. Let her feel the friction. Let her feel the difference between you and the other men. Let her feel the space you don't collapse to fill. Confidence doesn't come from doing more. It comes from needing less. When your silence is stronger than another man's compliments, she feels it. She realizes you're not available. You're not predictable. You're not even impressed. You're watching. You're measuring. You're calculating. That's what scares her, because she's used to being the one in control. Not anymore. Understand something most men never do. The man who moves slowly, speaks rarely, and never reacts, owns the room. Not through noise, through gravity. Machiavelli said the wise man does at once what the fool does eventually. You don't build confidence in front of her. You build it alone. In silence. In discipline. In the moments no one's watching. When you decide you will no longer be the man who breaks just because she pulls away. You become dangerous when your emotions become private property. Not leaked. Not shared. Not posted. Not explained. Private. When you're praised, you don't inflate. When you're mocked, you don't shrink. When you're ghosted, you don't chase. You vanish. Not with drama, but with dignity. Because you finally understand, the man who reacts is the man who gets owned. You want her obsession? Then master absence. Because absence is louder than presence in the mind of someone who thought you'd stay. But this time, you don't stay. You don't wait. You don't explain. You disappear. You don't threaten. You don't argue. You just leave. Quietly. And you rise violently. That's Machiavellian power. Not noise. Not drama. But irreversible transformation. You were once the man who overthought every message. Now you're the man who makes her question herself just by going silent. You were once the guy who laughed nervously. trying to fill the gap. Now, you're the one who stares calmly while she unravels. You were once chasing the wrong women. Now, you select from a place of power, and you never apologize for it. Because you don't chase comfort. You chase command. You don't chase attention. You command it. You don't react to rejection. You weaponize it. Machiavelli said, "It is better to be impetuous than cautious, for fortune is a woman, and if you wish to master her, you must conquer her by force of character." Let me say that again, force of character. Not money. Not looks. Character. That's what she feels in her chest when you walk into a room and look through her, not at her. When you speak, not to impress, but to decide. You don't flinch when she pulls away. You don't chase after her gaze. You don't ask to be chosen, because you've already chosen yourself. So what now? You build the identity of a man who cannot be manipulated. You walk with purpose. You speak with finality. You surround yourself with silence. And when they try to understand you, they fail. Because you're not designed to be understood. You're designed to be remembered. This is your new standard. You're not the man who begs to be liked. You're the man who haunts the memory. Not because of what you gave, but because of what you never needed. So if something and you just woke up reading this, it's not motivation. It's memory. A memory of who you were always meant to be. The man who doesn't flinch, doesn't beg, doesn't wait. You're not here to follow. You're here to become the kind of man women can't forget, can't predict, and can't control.